Hello everyone, my name is Robert Ogie. I'm the pastor of Cutler Bay Worship Center right here in beautiful Cutler Bay, Florida. And you get me in the sanctuary today. I'm just finishing up at the church for the day, and so here I am. Well, we're going to be looking at Proverbs chapter 11 today. We're going through the book of Proverbs during this month of June, and on every day we're reading the next proverb. As you know, Proverbs has 31 chapters. It's a great way to spend some time in the Bible every day by reading just one chapter. It's a great place to start. If you haven't been reading the Bible, if you want to just get some wisdom in you, Proverbs is such a great book of wisdom. As we saw yesterday, chapter 10 really started like, 32, really kind of just punch in the gut things that Solomon's like, here you go. Well, today is no different. Chapter 11 is pretty much the same kind of format. It's these little one-liners that are just absolutely brilliant. So starting chapter 11 in verse 1, the Lord detests the use of dishonest scales, but he delights in accurate weights. Now we're talking again, just like yesterday. If you got your own business, or even just in work, if where you're working and your job, God does not like dishonest scales. What that means is cutting corners and doing things your own way and not doing things the right way and all that kind of stuff. God doesn't really like that, but He delights in accurate weights. He likes when we do it the right way. Pride leads to disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom. Honesty guides good people. Dishonesty destroys treacherous people. Riches won't help on the day of judgment, but right living can save you from death. The godly are directed by honesty. The wicked fall beneath their load of sin. Again, we're seeing this kind of carryover from yesterday of what does it look like to live a godly life. And when we live a godly life, and what does that mean? What does it mean to live a godly life? It means following the way of God, following what He says, following what the Word of God says, following what the Bible teaches us. That is living a godly life right before Him. Verse 4, riches won't help you on the day of judgment. Right? And we see that all throughout the Bible. It doesn't matter how rich you are or how much you obtain in this life. It's not going to help you. You can't take it with you. But right living can save you from death. The godly are directed by honesty. The wicked fall beneath their load of sin. The godliness of good people rescues them. The ambition of treacherous people traps them. When the wicked die, their hopes die with them, for they rely on their own feeble strength. But the godly are rescued from trouble, and it falls on the wicked instead. With their words, the godless destroy their friends. How many of us have had a friend who just didn't know how to control what they say, or said the wrong thing at the wrong time, or just wasn't nice with their words? And what does that do to a friendship? We see over time that just really doesn't work, right? You want to be around the person less and less because it just doesn't do much for you, and eventually it ruins a friendship. But knowledge will rescue the righteous. The whole city celebrates when the godly succeed. They shout for joy when the wicked die. Well, I don't know if we're shouting for joy when the wicked die, but you can see where this is, right? When righteous people or good people succeed, people don't mind that they've succeeded. When a good person does well, there's not a lot, we don't mind. But when wickedness and evil people, they excel, we're all kind of like, man, this doesn't seem right, does it? Upright citizens are good for a city, and they make it prosper. But the talk of the wicked tears it apart. It is foolish to belittle one's neighbor. A sensible person keeps quiet. That's twice now. That's yesterday and today that Solomon is telling us to keep our mouths shut. A sensible person keeps quiet. A gossip goes around telling secrets, but those who are trustworthy can keep a confidence. Without wise leadership, a nation falls. There is safety in having many advisors. Are you surrounding yourself? We've seen this theme again, right? And I said this a couple days ago, that we are the kind of the average, or we are the byproduct of the 5 people we spend the most time with, right? Like the more people we spend our time with, or the people that we spend our time with the most, it molds and shapes us. And so here we see There's a safety in having many advisors. Surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. Surround yourself with people that are wiser than you or more discerning than you or can give you good, sound advice. That's smart. That's smart right there. Not just for business, but for life itself. Verse 15, there's danger in putting up security for a stranger's debt. It's safer not to guarantee another person's debt. A gracious woman gains respect, but ruthless men gain only wealth. And so you see here, right, you might be able to get rich by being ruthless, but you might not walk away with respect. Verse 17, your kindness will reward you, but your cruelty will destroy you. Evil people get rich for the moment, but the reward of the godly will last. Now, the reward of the godly isn't necessarily riches, although it could be, right? When Solomon was encountered by God in his dream, and God said, what do you ask of me? Anything you ask, I'll give you. And he says, I want wisdom to lead your people rightly. This 20-year-old new king, he says, I need wisdom to lead your people the way I should. And so out of that, what happens? God says, I will do that, but I'm also going to give you riches and glory. And so God's not opposed to us having stuff, right? I think it's even, God says to Abraham that he's going to make his name great, that all the nations of the world and all the peoples of the world are going to know who Abraham is. God's not got no issue with fame and fortune. What he's got an issue with is when the heart doesn't know how to handle fame and fortune. And he wants to help us with that, so that we're good, godly people doing good, godly things with the things that he's blessed us with. Man, the more money I get, the more I'm able to give. The more things I have, the more I'm able to help people. And if you've got a good heart and you've got a godly character, then what you have is only going to enhance people's lives. And I think God actually likes that, doesn't he? Verse 17, your kindness will reward you. Okay, we'll read that again. But your cruelty will destroy you. Evil people get rich for a moment, but the reward of the godly will last. Verse 19, godly people find life. Evil people find death. Now, I want to look at that just for a second, because it's not necessarily they find like living and evil people find dying. It says they find death and they find life. And really, if you think about it, godly people will pull out of you the good in you. They pull out the life. There's a saying, it's easy to find the dirt in someone, be the person that digs for the gold, right? Evil people find death. They find the stuff in us that they want to see. They already have a preconceived idea of who we are, and so that's what they look for, and that's what they see, because you can pretty much see anything you want. Whereas godly people search for life, and that's why they find it, because that's what they're searching for. The Lord, verse 20, the Lord detests people with crooked hearts, but he delights in those with integrity. Evil people will surely be punished, but the children of the godly will go free. A beautiful woman who lacks discretion is like a gold ring in a pig's snout. He's just calling it what it is, isn't he? The godly can look forward to a reward, while the wicked can expect only judgment. Give freely, I love this, give freely and become more wealthy. Be stingy and lose everything. The generous will prosper. Those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. So be godly, have integrity, work on that character, and get ridiculously rich so that you can help as many people as possible and be as generous as possible. And I've talked about Dave Ramsey a few times, and one of the verses that he really builds his stuff on is from Proverbs. And this is a pure example of what he teaches from a biblical perspective on finances. He teaches these 7 baby steps, and number 7 is to live ridiculously generous lives. Once you've mastered your finances and you are set and living a good life, you are able to be more generous than you ever could be, carrying debt and not making enough and living paycheck to paycheck. Like, let's be rich people so that we can give away a lot. That's a good place to be. And God doesn't have a problem with it, right? Solomon is calling this out right where it is. The generous will prosper. Why? The Bible says that when you are faithful with a little, you can be trusted with much. If you read the parable of the talents that Jesus tells, right, he gives them 2, 5, and 10 talents. The guy with 10 goes out and doubles it. The guy with 5 goes out and doubles it. The guy with 2 goes out and buries it in the sand. What happens? The king comes back and says, the 10, I'm going to give you 10 more. The 5, I'm going to give you 5 more. The 2, I'm taking it away and giving it to the guy with 10. Why? Because the guy with 10 was smart. He did well with his money. God's got no problem with you having money. You just need to have a good heart to match it. All right? People curse those who hoard their grain, but they bless the one who sells in time of need. If you search for good, again, this is going back to godly people find life. If you search for good, you will find favor. But if you search for evil, it will find you. Be the person that looks for the gold in someone instead of just the dirt that you see on top. That's easy to see. Man, everybody can see what's wrong with me. It's right out there in the open. But you might, if you dig a little into my life, you're going to find some gold. I know it. If you search for good, you will find favor, but if you search for evil, it will find you. Trust in your money, and down you go. But the godly flourish like leaves in spring. Again, it's not about having or having not money, right? Paul says, I've learned to be content whether I have or have not. It's not about that, right? It's about the character of heart and what God has done in us. 29, verse 29, those who bring trouble on their families inherit the wind. The fool will be a servant to the wise. The seeds of good deeds become a tree of life. A wise person wins friends. If the righteous are rewarded here on earth, what will happen to wicked sinners? So there's a lot of wisdom in here. A lot of really good things. Just these one-liners that stick to you. Go ahead, read it again if you haven't read it yet today. But this is just good stuff. It's good wisdom. We're really getting into, how Solomon is showing you can have a good life. Build integrity. Build honesty. Build character in your life. These are the things that a foundation of a good life are built upon. Have a godly life. Live after God. Live for Him. Give yourself to His ways and His purposes. Do what you can to gain knowledge and wisdom from God. Surround yourself with godly people. Surround yourself with wise people, with learned people, with knowledgeable people, with people who can point you in the direction of life. Surround yourself with those people, and it's going to have an effect on your life like you wouldn't believe. You'll find life. Bless you today. I hope you're doing well, and we'll see you tomorrow for chapter 12.